नहमदु व नुसल्ली अला रसूलिहिल करीम अम्मा बाद फ़अऊज़ु बिल्लाहि मिनश शैतानिर रजीम बिस्मिल्लाहिर रहमानिर रहीम रब्बि इश्रह ली सदरी व यस्सिर ली अमरी वहलुल उक़दतम मिन लिसानी यफ़क़हू क़ौली रब्बी ज़िदनी इल्मा अल्लाहुम्मा फ़क़्हिना फ़िद्दीन अल्लाहुम्मा इन्नी अस्अलुका इल्मन नाफ़िअ व अमलन मुतक़ब्बला व रिज़्क़न तय्यबा اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما. Inshallah, today we will be studying ayat number 92 onwards, Surah al-Baqarah. Basically, the theme is about Bani Israel, the nation of Musa alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will mention 3 different incidents that happened, and they are, of course, as I always remind you, are for us to learn. And we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions these to tell us how Bani Israel were given many reminders, many warnings, many different ways that they could learn and they could retain that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one. We're supposed to follow the commands of Islam and we have to be on the right path and all these things. But whatever was done, they were always deviating from the right path. In the first ayat that we'll study today, which is ayat number 92, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about how they made an idol of gold and it looked like a calf, and then they were worshipping it. What happened exactly was that when they left Misr, when they left Egypt with Musa alayhi salam, they just saw a very huge miracle that Musa alayhi salam, with his staff, with the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he put his staff on the sea, on the water, then the water parted, the sea parted and made way for them. When the entire Bani Israel walked through it, and then when the army of Pharaoh tried to walk through it, the sea met again and then they drowned in front of them. They saw this, and this was in itself a huge miracle that they would remember for their whole lives. But they didn't. But as soon as they reached the other side and they saw that there was a small town where people were worshipping an idol, and some of them said to Musa alayhi salam that, Musa, why don't you make something like this for us so we can just worship the God like that? And it seems very soothing. And Musa alayhi salam, of course, it is frustrating, but he reminded them, he explained to them that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is one and these things are not allowed in our religion. Then they also saw many other, because since Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to mention in this ayat number 92 that they were shown many miracles, I'm reminding you that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent clouds for them so they can walk very comfortably and easily and they do not get affected by the heat in their travels. Also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them man and salwa from the skies, the food from the skies, because they were traveling, they were walking, they would not have time to sit and do any agriculture. So Allah gave them the birds, salwa, which were very easily accessible and they could just cook and eat. And there was also some dessert. And for the water also, it was a miracle again that using the staff of Musa alayhi salam, they would strike it on a rock and the 12 streams would come out, for one for each of the tribe. So all these and many more miracles were presented to them, and when they reached the point where the Mount Tur was situated, they were told that Musa alayhi salam had an appointment with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to go for 30 days and nights, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will teach him the commands and he will be able to come with what the religion is and whatever rituals will be. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala extended that time, so 10 more days and nights were added. The total time was 40 days and nights. He made his brother in charge over the people, and while he was gone, people started complaining and whining and telling Harun alayhi salam that your brother is just a liar and he is not a real prophet and there is no God and he was just lying to us and now he even made us homeless. We can't even go back to Egypt. All those things. And in these complaints, then they were told by Samri, one of the he used to be a magician, so he also had this deviance in him. He told everyone that we should collect gold. All of us have gold. Where did the gold come from? When they were leaving Egypt, they probably put all the gold that they had and the money and everything. So now, since they were walking, it was becoming difficult in itself to take gold with them. So they decided that this is a very noble act, and they collected their gold, and Samri created a gold calf, which somehow, because of the wind direction, it would also make a sound, and that would be this would make them feel that this is a very realistic God, and they started worshipping. So a very big population started worshipping this calf. When Musa alayhi salam was coming down from the mountain, he could see that. He had the two tablets in his hands that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had written by himself, the commands in it. And these are said to be the ones with 10 commandments. So he became so angry that the tablets fell from his hand and they broke. And then Musa alayhi salam held his brother's hair and asked him what's going on. And he said, I tried to talk to them, I tried to explain to them, but you know how difficult this nation is. And then Musa alayhi salam got really upset with these people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this entire event in ayat number 92. Let's read the ayat. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us how zalim these people were. وَلَقَدْ, and indeed, جَاءَكُمْ, came to you, Musa bil bayyinat. Musa came to you with bayyinat, with clear signs. And I just explained to you the signs, and there were even more. Summa takhastum al ijla. What did you do? Summa, then akhastum, took ijl, the calf, mim ba'dihi, from after him. So while he was gone for the 40 days. Wa antum zalimun, and you are the wrongdoers. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that you guys are wrongdoers because you see so many signs. You see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is providing for you. He's sending his blessings upon you, and you get one little gap and you have to wait for some time, and you get so distracted that you will start even worshipping somebody else. So this is a huge sign that you are zalim. Then ayat number 93 is akhazna, and when akhazna, we took misakakum, a covenant. Wow, sa, qaf. So now ayat number 93 talks about how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after giving them many reminders, many different ways of warnings, many blessings upon them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed them how the threats were not just empty threats. Allah raised the Mount Tur on top of them and showed them that it is so easy for Allah to crush them and just to put the mountain on top of them. And they, if they don't follow the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if they don't follow the religion properly, when they saw that, they did take the covenant, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions over here. But in this ayat, you will see that Allah mentions that after even taking this covenant, they just went back to their own lifestyle. Their attitude was that, oh yeah, we heard that. Yeah, we know that. But they completely ignored, completely disobeyed again and again. So let's read this ayat. Is, and when akhazna, we took mithaqakum, kahf, the covenant, warafana, and we raised rafa'ain, fawqakum tura. Fawq means on top of you, over you, at-tura, the Mount Tur. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raised the mountain so they can take a covenant. They would promise. What was the promise? What was the command given to them at this point? Khudu, hold, ma ataynakum, what we gave you. So hold it. How do you hold it? Bikuwatin, with kuwa, with strength, with firmness. Now this does not just mean to physically be strong to hold it, or hold it like with firmness so it does not fall down, or put it on a very strong shelf in the house with beautiful proper cover that does not have to be opened. It means to hold it strongly, means to follow the commands, to follow it in everything that we do. And this is the reason why this ayat, this covenant is explained to, shown to us over here, is so we also understand that we're supposed to hold our book strongly. Our book is Quran. We're supposed to follow it not just for the big decisions, that how to do divorce and how to do inheritance, but we're supposed to use it for every single thing of our life. We're supposed to seek guidance from this book for every decision that we make, how to raise kids, how to speak, how to be kind, how to be polite, when to take revenge, and when to try to have the willpower to keep going, when to be resilient, when to be kind to people, when to respect people, how can I be more patient. All these things are the things that we need guidance from, and every day reading it means that we are holding it strongly. We are not letting it go. We are not moving away from it. And what else was given in this covenant? Wasma'u, and listen to it. So wasma'u doesn't just mean that there is background noise and then you hear that. So that is one level where you do hear a background noise. You go somewhere, you hear the kids playing, that is also you can hear that. Another is when you hear something and then you listen to that, and you're listening to the music. You do listen to the words, but you don't do anything about it. And the third is when you listen and you do something about it. This is the level that is needed here. When even sometimes you tell your kids, listen to me, when you are actually asking them to take action on what is being said to you. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us over here. It was told to them as well, that hold it very strongly and listen to it. قالوا, what did they say? سمعنا وعصينا, we heard and we disobeyed. عصينا عين صاد. So yani they actually took the covenant first. They said yes, so they can take the punishment away from themselves. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us what their lifestyle actually was. They did not change. This did not change them. So not the signs like the parting of the sea, the water, the man, salwa, those also, the positive signs also did not help them. Those miracles also did not help them. And also the view of the punishment did not help them. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that these were the zalim people, so do not become like them, because their lifestyle was still as if they are ignoring, they're being stubborn, they're arrogant, they're like samana wa asaina. Oh yeah, we heard. Yeah, we'll do it when we have time. Right now we are so busy. All those things. So they probably, even if they did not say it in words, this is what they did. And sometimes we read these kind of ayat and we think, what kind of people were Bani Israel? They actually said this to Allah. But this is what we do as well. How is looking at anything that reminds us of Akhirah change our behavior? We look at so many different types of bugs, snakes, and things that we are scared of. We watch the videos and documentaries of these kind of things, and then we are, for sometimes we are shivering, and then we are saying, Ya Allah, may Allah protect us in our graves and stuff. But we do not realize that as soon as we close the TV or whatever wherever we watch them, live or on TV, we completely go back to our own same lifestyle. However, party, drama, movie, eating interest, halal, haram, immodesty, everything, mixed parties, and everything is exactly the same. So we should not be surprised when we hear that they said samana wa asaina. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then goes ahead and tells us the reason why this was happening. Wa ushribu, shin raba, meaning drink, fi qulubihim, in their hearts, al-ajla, of the calf. So they had the drink of the calf in their hearts. What does that mean? It means it's an expression where we say that they were drunk with the love of the calf. Basically, the love for calf was in their system. So they had been observing that the calves were being worshipped even in Misr, in Egypt, where they lived. So it was difficult to get that love out. And they started giving it so much importance that they worship the calf even if they had Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to worship too. So Allah mentions ushribu fi qulubihim al-ijl bi kufrihim, because of their kufr, their disbelief. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions kul, say, bi'sama ya'murukum bihi, how evil is that, ya'murukum, that orders it, bihi, with, meaning how bad is your iman, imanukum in kuntum mu'minin, how bad, how evil is your iman if your iman is asking you to do this. If your iman commands you to do this kind of worship, this kind of lifestyle, that's how evil it is. And what kind of mu'mineen are you? 94, Qul, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions now from 94 and 95 and 96. We'll see another aspect of how they used to believe and what they used to say. They used to say that we are made for Jannah, we are made for heaven, and the fire will not touch us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells Prophet ﷺ to tell them that if you really think that this is true, then you should be craving to die, so you do not have to deal with all the complications of this world. And if you're really so sure and confident that Jannah is only for you and nobody else, then you should be wishing to die so you can enter heaven and live there peacefully. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that they are actually in their hearts they are scared. They know that that is not true, and that is why they would want to live 1,000 years. They are so scared to die because they know that they are going to be punished. And even if they live, even if somebody is given the age of 1,000 years, the punishment cannot be taken away from. They cannot escape the punishment. Okay, qul, say, in kanat, it is if, lakumud darul akhirah, lakum, it is for you, ad-dar, the house, al-akhirah, akhirah. If the house of akhirah, indallahi, with Allah, khalisatan, is exclusively min dunin nasi, excluding from the other men, other people, then what should you do? Fatamannavul mauta, then you should wish for the maut, for the death. In kuntum, if actually you are sadiqeen, if you are truthful. So this ayat says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the Muslims to tell them that if you really think that it is exclusively for you, the dar al-akhirah, the home of the akhirah, which means Jannah, indallahi, with Allah. So the house with Allah is for you only, then you should wish for maut if you are truthful. Ayat number 95 tells us, walan, and never ever will, yatamannawhu, mim nun ya, meaning they wish for it, abadan, ever. Wish for what? The death. They do not wish for it. They will never wish for it. Why? Because they're scared. Abadan, ever. Bima, because qaddamat aydihim. Qaddamat means, qadam means steps. So when you step, you send something forward. Aydihim, your hands. So Allah mentions that they will never wish for death because of what their hands are sending, meaning what their actions are, because of they know that their deeds are not good enough. Wallahu, and Allah, alimun bizzalimin, He is all knower of the zalimin. He knows all the wrongdoers. He knows what's going on in their heart. They're just saying these things so they can normalize the bad deeds for each other, and their lifestyle does not compromise in this dunya, and they can keep living without feeling guilty. But inside, they would never wish for death because they know what's coming, what's going to happen. They know, they have the concept for akhirah. So last ayat for today, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that you will, in fact, they're not just scared of dying, they're in fact wishing that they would live long, 1,000 years of life. But even if they live that long, they will not be able to escape the punishment. So ayat 96, wa, and la, surely, tajidannahum, waw jim dal is the root, you will find them, ahrasa. So ahras means most greedy. It's a superlative degree, hars and haris. And ahrasa, you'll find the most greedy, an-nasi, amount out of all the nas, all the mankind. They will be the greediest of what? For what? Ala, upon hayatin, upon life, for living longer. Wamin al-lazina, and greedier than al-lazina, those who ashraku, those who are the mushrik, the polytheists. You will find them more greedy even than the polytheists. Why? Because the polytheists, they don't even have a proper concept. They are more greedy because they're scared, because they know what's going to happen in the akhirah. They have the know-how of the concept of akhirah. They know they will be punished. That's why they are even more greedy than the polytheists, who just want to live here because they love this dunya. But these guys, they also are scared of the punishment. Now Allah will tell us what they actually wish for. Yawaddu, wow, dal, yani loves, craves, ahaduhum, ahad, every one of them, law, if yu'ammaru, ain mim ra, umar, yani age or life, he could be granted a life. This is what they wish. Each one of them wishes that they could be granted a life. How long? Alfa sanatin. Alf meaning 1,000, sanatin meaning year. Each one of them wish that they could be given a life of 1,000 years. Wama huwa, but not huwa, it, meaning the 1,000 years life. What will the 1,000 years of life not do for them? بِمُزَحْزِهِ, will remove him, zaiha, min al-azabi, from the punishment. It will not take the punishment away from them. An yu'ammara, that he should be granted life. Wallahu basirum bima ya'malun, and Allah, He is all basir. He is the seer of bima, of what? Ya'malun, of their deeds, of what they do. So we see that in all three kind of subjects here that we deal with, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us a lesson. First, we see that they made a calf of gold. Even if we don't make a calf of gold, what do? Whoever we're influenced by, we just follow along and do things that they do, and we start normalizing that behavior, because there were so many of them. All of them did not worship the calf, but most of them did, because they all became influenced by each other. So we have to be very careful who we get impressed with. Who are we following? We should not think that everyone is doing, so we should also do it. Secondly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions how the punishment was shown to them. But they at that time took the covenant. They said, okay, and then they went back and started living their life just the way they were living before. So forgetting after all the reminders again and again. So reminders are a blessing. We should always remember that. And we will not always get that. So as long as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us in positive ways from His blessings, also from the harmful creatures that we see, whether we see them live or in video, we should always remind ourselves and try to stick to our plan of following the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, holding the Quran with strength and firmness, and taking guidance for everything. And then the third one, which is also unfortunately part of what our culture is all about, that as long as we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we'll all go to Jannah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows over here that we have clarified everything, how it is going to be in the Akhirah. Those who deserve punishment will get punishment. They cannot escape from punishment just because of their wishful thinking. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us stick to Islam properly and become very pious, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, nastaghfiruka wa natubu alayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.